Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Harmony. I'm a twin flame expert helping twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Welcome to my weekly glow show. Today's topic is twin flames. There's always two sides to every coin. I've been hearing kind of the comment a lot over the last week and a half, and it's a sense of am I coming or am I going? And that a lot of people are being presented with options, with choices, with decisions, and being conflicted into being fearful and afraid of making the wrong decision, going the wrong path. And part of where this fear is stemming from, because this is what we've kind of done this in the past, and when we've made choices, they have not always been for our highest good, or they, from one standpoint, which they're always going to explain in a minute, but they may not feel like it at the time, and it feels like you're paying consequences or you're having to clean up certain debris and certain karma, and you're really hitting into a place of a feeling of, I don't want to repeat these cycles anymore. I want to move beyond these lower vibrational thoughts, feelings, actions, so that I can connect to my higher version of myself, my highest good, and live out my highest destiny. And the cool thing is so many people are seeing this, they're waking up to this, and they're accepting, honoring themselves in this shift and seeking and desiring more connection with the higher self's template, the higher self's information that we are downloading to bring into form so that we can become the best versions of who we came here to be. So first of all, let me see, I want to see kind of where I want to start here in this, am I coming or am I going? One of the things I think that is very important to understand from an energetic standpoint, there's the contrast and the duality, and that, I'm seeing this on a collective scale energetically, and have been that in the energy as a whole, collectively, we've been in this apex of energy, having came to this sort of like dead end to go back and return to the innocence, so we have to flip the other side of the energy and come back the same path, but this time recreate that path from a different place, a different state of consciousness, the higher perspective of who we are. And ultimately, at the end of the day, revisit that same path so that we can introduce our new template, our new way to handle things. So a couple things in this. First of all, when it comes to decisions and you questioning, am I making the right decision? The first thing to know is there are no wrong choices. You can't mess up destiny. And you must experience both sides of this coin in order to expand you. And that is why we are revisiting these things, so that we can create that new way to handle it. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're really creating, in this expansion of ourselves, we're creating harmony. We're creating duality within us of a side that we've cut off, so that we can, and one of the things I'm seeing a lot in this is people are going from all or nothing, from one extreme to the other. And that in this duality of, like, for instance, you might have been in the past like very OCD, very controlling. And now, as you think, okay, I'm supposed to let go of that. I'm supposed to be more flexible. I'm supposed to be more go with the flow, right? This is where it can get confusing. But on the flip side of that, if you're like, when we get being bombarded by all this ascension and these symptoms and this toxicity, and, we start to let go, and it's like we may be letting go to the point where now we're not, implementing things we should be with our mission. We are still cleansing and clearing maybe some of the karma and the debris, and know that the energy, space, and time that we're in now we can bypass that if we want. We can get a hall pass around that block, should we want to. And I'm going to tell you the number one thing of what's creating this block in a second, okay? So that you can use this as your number one thing, that every time you hit this space to realize what it is that you're actually doing. And I'll share that with you in a minute, because that's kind of the head of this, of how you can bypass all of this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're creating harmony, you're expanding yourself, you are, like I said, you're in that duality, creating the neutrality, so that you're finding balance really in all that is within yourself, and typically waking up beside of you. So it's common. Just know that you're not going in reverse, or you're not flipping. It might feel like you're flipping from one side of the fence to the other, but you're going to come back into some harmony in that. And as you go from this side, say all of the side, and you went from being in this very controlling state to surrendering and letting go, and coming over to feeling like you're getting nothing done, you know, then when you start to come back in and create the balance, and you're reintroducing some of these concepts, ideas, and things that you're having to address in that, it feels like you're going back to the other way. And it's like, no, you're fighting it, because you are saying, no, I already did that. I need to let go of that. I was supposed to let go of that. But this is where you got to reintroduce some of what you already knew, what you had, what you were experiencing was not all wrong to begin with. It was just a matter of creating the balance in both sides of you. And that's why it takes two sides of a coin to equal the full coin. And it takes two sides of us to equal all of us. And it takes both of those sides to come into the full expression of who we are, so that at the end of the day, all what this is about, it's about finding the true you. It's about honoring the true you. It's about seeing that true you. It's about creating that true you, so that as you do so and your vibration goes up, you can tap into those higher energetic planes, the higher vortex, the higher energy channel of your destiny. And that's where the goal here is to get in that space. And you don't have to make anything happen. You don't have to work so hard like you've been programmed, that you can show up with this higher vibration, and things migrate and come to you and show up for your highest good. So I'm giving you an example, a couple little examples here. So first of all, a big one is, that's confusing in this twin flame dynamic, is like, I'm having trouble letting go of my twin. And like, should I let go? And I'm afraid to let go. And I'm a fear to let go, because I'm afraid if I let go, then it's over. Well, first of all, that's a trust aspect. So it's teaching you to let go and trust the process, okay? So that you can find yourself and create yourself. But then as you do the flip side of this coin, the other side of that is, okay, well, I had to let go of my twin to find myself, to create myself, and to connect to the highest version of myself. But now at the same token that I have went through this, do I now that maybe I'm ready to, you know, create a relationship, be in a relationship, have a relationship, now it becomes, okay, I'm going to be open, willing, and ready along this process, because I'm not to close the door to stay in receptivity mode. But at the same token, like, it also becomes, do I necessarily want to settle for lesser than my highest good or my highest vibration? So this is the flip side of the coin. One minute you got to let go of your twin, the next minute you got to hold space for your twin, and to realize that letting go is not giving up, but it's really about finding yourself, creating yourself, raising your vibration, which will also know that what you desire, what you deserve in that space, at your highest vibration, will bring towards you what you need to continue your journey. You don't have to go out and get on a dating site. You don't have to go out looking for a date. when it's the right time, what you need will show up in that space. And the universe really has a way of wanting to blow us away and to surprise us and to allow them to come in to shower us with all these blessings. And then to see whatever shows up as a blessing, not a curse. But again, it's sort of, again, like I said, making sure that you stay with what's on the flip side of the one side of being open to everything and attached to nothing, but on this other side, being not willing to settle for less than what you deserve. It's your highest vibration. So for instance, if your twin has not gotten into their highest vibration and can't and haven't met you there at this given time, then in that space, it's about definitely staying in some form of respect and to know that, you know, kind of how do I actually let go of something that I love that's still toxic for me? Meaning like, you know, if they're still producing toxins for you in some way that you're on this side of the coin, it's the lower vibrational toxicity. But if you've been like going up in your ascension and you've been trying to clear your karma in the past that we've been doing and where we've been up through kind of this space of the energy, we've had to allow our twins to come in to blast us apart, to create the experiences we've needed to purify our soul, to dump all of that out, to release that. So what you're really having to do here is allow your twin to come in and kind of crack you apart. At the same token, let your twin stay open enough to let your twin come in on the other side of that to allow and help heal you. And I'm even talking 5D and all of this, and or 3D, dependent upon your dynamic and your situation and, you know, what you're going through individually. Because even though, that's another thing, even though there's some commonalities on all of this, it does not mean that this is all cookie cutter and that everyone's is the same. And that's where we're in an energy right now. The way I'm telling people to handle this is, well, how did you handle this before? You've been going through this ascension process and you've woken up and you're aligning with your highest good. What action, what decision did you make before? Because in this side of that, you need to be making the opposite decision of the other side of the coin. And the reason being is that's expanding you. And it can also, to give you an example of that, that means you might have been making some choices that felt like better choices initially. Now it might be like, oh, I don't know if these are the right choices because this isn't for my highest good necessarily. But what it is doing is it's expanding you and opening up a side of you you haven't experienced yet. So it's opening up an opportunity to experience something in a new way is a part of what I'm talking about here. And I know this really gets confusing. And that's one reason why I was being shown to kind of share this with you, because I've mentioned this in several different videos, but never have came through to really break it down into what these two sides are and why they're both like necessary and why we need both of them. And to know, again, you know, when we hit that state of left or right at the fork in our decision, at the fork in the road, and the fork of our path, that here's the kicker here. So we can either take the fast track, which is like getting a hall pass, and we can bypass maybe a lot of having to clear karma or a lot of having to necessarily get the awarenesses of like all these details that we necessarily need, because we can fast track it and we can jump into those higher vibrations, or we can resist it. Resistance is the key here. We can resist the change. We can resist the fears of all the fear, creating resistance as to even moving forward or afraid to let go and pull in that direction. And so that sometimes that direction makes us more comfortable going in that direction of the fast track. But it's like the surrender and letting go of the resistance that flips us there faster. So the greater your resistance, the greater your breakthrough and the greater your reward. And that's one of my my quotes that I have that I've put out there. I have it on my website too, because I found my greatest breakthrough on the other side of my greatest resistance. And I can promise you I'm now receiving my greatest rewards. And, you know, in that aspect then, on this reroute, so we either get to go the fast track and we go the hall pass and we get to surrender the resistance here and shift into like forward motion faster and bypass a lot of the challenges, a lot of the obstacles. It's going to be your biggest fear to jump to do that. But resisting the concept and the idea that of the fear of doing it is the key. And that is your lesson in that space. And that is learning that to trust this process and to trust yourself and to trust the journey and trust your guides and to trust, you know, that's a big trust factor there, which seems to be one of the ultimate virtues that we're all having to master, which is, you know, bundled up into patience, which is tolerance, timing, and trust. Now, if you were to then, let's say, choose the other route, it might take you a little longer to get to the same place, but you're going to end up at the same place. But is that a wrong decision? Absolutely not, because you're going to take the route you need and you're going to sort of be pulled in that route in order to take the direction that you need for your experience you need to get what you need to continue on your path. So that means it was not where it might feel a little slower. It doesn't mean it was a wrong decision. And did you have to maybe experience more challenges and more things to force you to have to surrender? Yes, but you have to come into the acceptance of that too, because that means you needed that route in order for you to be able to get the experience you need to let go and stop fighting this resistance. So resistance is key here in all of this. So I'm going to recap that, because when you get to the fork in the road, it's about surrendering and letting go of your resistance. So if you're feeling the resistance, that has to be surrendered. And I can also tell you from experience, and this is how I've been learning to really jump a lot of timelines, is any resistance, is that sometimes when we just let go of the resistance to something, it may just be that we now no longer have to experience what we would have had to otherwise, of the fear that we thought we were going to have to experience. All right. So, you know, I'm just going to give you kind of an example of that. So, like, let's just say that you were fearful of, you know, going through potentially a divorce, and you're, you know, maybe there's some things to deal with the ex, and, you know, there's a lot of financial issues, and there's court battles, and there's all those things, and you're trying to potentially settle and be nice of your old ways and like try to do it from the unconditional heart and want to work together, and you don't want to have to like go through that route of, you know, being taken through more and more challenges. Because I am seeing a lot of people going through divorces and a lot of court issues and a lot of court battles, and long term, like we're talking, you know, years, and down to at least a year is probably about the minimal that I've seen that are still going on, and some of those have been closing out over the last month or so. So, but that's where there's been a hang up in the resistance of all of that. And that resistance has been what's blocked and not allow that divorce to finalize. And somebody in that dynamic has to surrender, has to let go, has to wave the white flag and say, I surrender. I am not going to resist this. Whatever it takes. That means if I got to pay you money, here you go. You know, you can't put a price on your peace. You just can't put price on your peace and happiness. Know that sometimes in that letting go of the resistance to that, it will open up and bring in more. And what I'm saying to this is, once you let go and you're not fighting the resistance anymore, then it will open the doorways, and you may not even have to necessarily pay all that money out, or spread out this divorce longer and pay all the money in attorney fees and all of those things. It will free the energy, it will free you, and the doors will open and the path will clear, and you will go ahead and go on into the stream of where you need to go and not have to be dragged through all this chaos anymore. it just will let go. I'm gonna give you an example of this for my personal self. When I went through a divorce, back in 2004, I think it was. So like one of my things is I wanted to keep my son in the same school district. And I, I was honestly, if it had been just me, I would have easily left and said, you take the house, you buy me out, you give me money, on and on and on. But instead, my key goal was to keep him safe, keep him, you know, and he was the one that would be suffering out of this. And so I wanted him to feel protected and not have to, move school districts just because we were going to have to move or those sorts of things, to be able to find somewhere else that we could afford, to live. And there was a battle between me and my exes to, and he was hanging on to that at the time. And, he didn't want to let go of that either. So I made the choice that I'm going to go ahead then and move. You can have the house and you can buy me out. If you don't want to accept the money that I'm offering you here to take on all the debt that we had together to refinance and pull out the money of the equity, and here's your portion, and I will then refinance this home and I will get it in my name, and you're free to go with the cash. And, he didn't want to do that. And I said, okay, if you don't want to do and there was resistance in that for a long time. And it was because of my son. So I knew that it was no longer worth it. And I basically knew that I had to move on and I needed this to close out for me. And so I chose then to say, all right, I'll let go of it. I'll move him. We'll go to another place. I'll figure it out. He'll go to a different school district. Maybe I'll drive him for this rest of this year, and whatever it takes. I don't know what it's going to take, but I couldn't see that next step till I got past this step. And the minute I surrendered that and let go and stopped the resistance and stopped that hanging on to anything, it then broke the resistance for everything, and he said, all right, no, you do it and you buy me out and I'll accept your offer. And we basically did that out of court without even having to go to court, because we, I had let go of the resistance and surrendered. And this is what I'm saying. You can bypass things that you don't have to experience if you let go of the resistance to hanging on to something. And that's where I highly suggest you get on over to Facebook and watch, which would already be as a live stream by the time you're going to see this. But I'm going to be doing a live stream video actually later today on how to let go of something that you love, but it's still toxic for you. So it's going to kind of piggyback this. So yeah, be sure to check that out, even if it's the replay. Okay. So let go of your resistance. That is going to allow you to experience all sides of you, to be able to retemplate how you've handled things, to be able to create more harmony in your life, to be able to accept all that is, and to keep you moving on your path without pulling you out of alignment to have to take all the reroutes, which is ultimately at the end of the day, the long way home. Once again, if that's what you need for your journey to get it, that it was the right and perfect way for you to experience all of that. You can't mess it up. All right? Awesome. So also, I want to just make sure I will put a link here for you to get plugged into the video series I have on the I'm Coming Out Challenge. Be sure to watch that, because that's been a very powerful feedback. I want to thank everyone that has contacted me and said how that has impacted their life, to be able to create more freedom, to be able to be who they are and express themselves without the fear of what other people are thinking. And the Swan Goddess rings, I'm still giving some of those away. So I will be announcing the winners on Facebook. You can click the link below to get registered. You can also go onto Facebook on my page, and you can leave a comment and or share a post that says #OnComingOut, and that gets you into the drawing for my weekly winner that I don't know how long that'll be going on, but do get plugged into that. It's going to be awesome. And I'm so excited and I can't wait. And so one other thing I want to mention is next week, I will be heading to New York City to be in the book expo, the Book Expo America, one of the largest book expos of the nation that's held annually in New York City. And so my book is being showcased, so I will probably be coming live or at least doing a recording or something from New York, definitely live, probably on my Facebook, definitely a recording. I'll be following that up with a detour through DC before I come home. And so I'll have some really cool and exciting things I know, because when I do this travel, it's harmony and motion. And it's about me being opening those channels up for me to connect to the energy there in those spaces in order to be doing a combination of grid work and or channeling in what divine messages are that I experience to share with you and others. So be sure and get plugged in. And if you want to connect, I will be having, I think, a little benefit aligns at some point. I don't know exact timing because I'm staying very flexible. But if you are in New York City and you would like to connect at one of the little events that I'm going to be having there, you're welcome to email me at drharmony, Dr. Harmony, at Twin Flame Expert, and in the subject line, put meet you in New York. Okay. And then I will contact you and get you on the list for details of how we can connect while I'm there. Okay. All right. Much love to you. Many blessings. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.